I think it's doing two things. Two things can be true, Skip. You've heard me say that several times. On the one hand, Skip, there are a lot of people that were not around or they were too young to remember that Michael Jordan, a lot of people think the shoes, but trust me, he was a hell of a ball player even before the shoes. And Skip, they're getting an opportunity to see just Michael Jordan. I mean, I don't know how much they go back and YouTube it, but you're getting an opportunity. And I think ESPN has done a great job of putting this together and putting it out there for the viewing public. But on the flip side of that, Skip, I think it's showing he was worried about that, of how he's being portrayed in practice and what he was doing and able to motivate his team to get them ready to go. Skip, after the show yesterday, I got off the phone and I was thinking, I'm trying to think, and I'm like, there has to be someone that some people will understand when I say this, there's a great comparison to. And I got on the phone and I said, Steve, you know what? Michael Jordan is Bobby Knight, the great Indiana coach. And to some fans and a lot of coaches, the ends justify the means. Now, Isaiah Thomas would have a very different story to tell than Rex Reed, who he ended up ultimately losing his job for. That is who he is, Skip. But he graduates his players. Those guys win national titles. And you see what you do? That's who Michael Jordan was. You justify it by saying, look at the titles they won. He got those guys a lot of money. Ends doesn't justify the mean. If you said, okay, yes, Shannon, he bullied those guys. Don't dress it up any other way. Don't say, well, there's no ill intent in his heart. Because I'm sure there's a lot of coaches and those fans in Indiana said, but he loved those kids. In one moment, he would grab them and jerk them by the shirt and yell and scream and curse. And the next minute, he'd put his arms around them. He loved them. He had no ill intent in his heart. He had no hatred. That doesn't mean jack. He bullied those, and that's why he said what he said, Skip. He knew how this documentary would portray him. Not so much the basketball player shooting the ball on the court, but the behind the scenes and some of the things he said. Skip, I'm trying to figure the difference between Draymond Green calling KD the female dog and Michael Jordan calling Scotty Burrell the garden utensil. I'm just trying to figure how they're different. One guy's like the other guy isn't. So we deem what Michael Jordan was motivating. How do we know KD wasn't trying to Draymond wasn't trying to motivate KD. You see, what we've started to see, Skip, and we've seen this over the last couple of years, if we like someone, we're more willing to accept their actions and their behavior, no matter how bad and grotesque it is. And I don't need to go back and say when. I'm saying the last 4 years or so. You know what I'm talking about. We're willing to accept that if we like that person. I think Michael Jordan has such a high Q rating, such a high approval rating. We will accept behavior even though we know it's wrong because we like said individual.
Okay, time out. So I had to sit here on Friday and sit here on Monday listening to you dismiss Michael Jeffrey Jordan as a straight-up, flat-out bully. A bully.
Yeah, he's a bully.
And you're telling me that you're not sure whether this has helped or hurt his image. Why didn't you say it's hurt his image? Because if he's who you say he is, it should destroy his image if he's a bully.
Skip. We see this every single day of what's transpiring. But because there's a popular segment that loves him, there's nothing he can do. To some, there's nothing Michael Jordan can do to tarnish what he's done. Skip, the shoe. It's got to be the shoe, Skip. It's got to be the shoe. I want to be like Mike. Come on, Skip, you know how this goes. If we like something, if we like someone, there's nothing getting us off that hill. And this is a hill that some is not going to come off of. They like Skip. I love Mike, the player. I just don't, me and his actions and how he motivated, that doesn't jive. It hadn't changed, Skip. It hadn't changed my perception. I just wouldn't have stood for it. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
Okay. My point is that I'm sure some people out there, maybe a whole lot of people, are horrified by the behind-the-scenes Jordan they're getting to see because of this classic unseen footage. behind the scenes at practice, behind the scenes in the locker room and on the team plane. Shannon Sharpe had never seen any of this or heard any of this. And now we hear Michael Jordan calling Scott Burrell not only a garden utensil, but he called him the B word also. He went Draymond on him, right? And you said there's no way you as a man would have taken that from him. But I just read a piece in USA Today, a big interview with Scott Burrell, in which he applauded Michael for all that he did. We're going to go deeper into this piece later in the show. But Scott Burrell said, he never touched me. He never laid hands on me. He just motivated me. He challenged me in ways I'd never been challenged before. And Scott Burrell says now, it's what I needed. He said, I knew Mike liked me. He likes me now. They text back and forth. He thanked Jordan in a sort of sarcastic way for the 1,000 interviews that he's having to do or getting to do now because of this documentary. And Mike texted him back, he said, and said, well, good luck with all those interviews. And Scott Burrell says, I wouldn't have a championship ring without Michael Jordan. I wouldn't have the head coaching position at Southern Connecticut State if I hadn't won that championship because of Michael Jordan. He made me a better person and a better basketball player. And I was there in '98, and I saw it happening. That was Scott Burrell's first year with Michael Jordan, and he did. It was relentless. It was ruthless. It was sometimes heartless, but it was working because once we got to the playoffs, I told you there was Game 3 at New Jersey. It was sort of a turning point of the playoffs. 2 close games at the United Center to start that series. And who rose and shone in Game 3 on the road before a crazed sellout crowd in Jersey? Scotty Burrell came off the bench, wound up playing 24 minutes and scoring 23 points because Michael had toughened him up. Michael toughened up Steve Kerr. Was he a great player? No. He toughened up Will Perdue. Was he a great player? No. Judd Buechler. Just stop it. You know, Scott Burrell. These are not great players. And Michael took that collection that I just named. That was about almost a third of the team in '98.